Hi Year 7, this is Mr. Seymour. Welcome back to Term 3 Science. Now you might realise that I'm not Mrs. Graham. Mrs. Graham will be back in our next lessons and continue on for science, but I'm just starting off your lessons for online learning, and she'll be back in your next lesson. So I have the joy, the privilege of starting your topic, habitats. Have a look on your screen. You can see 3 habitats there, 2 on the top and 1 below. And they're easily described, they're very different. The environments in which they are in and the organisms in which they that live in those spaces and places are very different as well. You've been looking at habitats from about year 2. So we're going to explore in year 7 and build upon what you already know about habitats. But first, as teachers, we want to know what you already know about this word habitat. Today, you're going to be just listening to this video of mine, and I'll just introduce it. And then after that, I'm going to get you to download a Word document that is below this video on C-Hub. And you're going to fill in the 4 parts of that Word document. So if you can do that now, you might want to pause, find that Word document, and then come back and continue on in this video, and I'll just talk through that document as well. So, as we talk about habitat, when you, the way in which I'd like to do that, have a look on your screen, and some of you may have seen this iPad game before. It's called Toca Nature. Now, when my girls used to play this a long time ago, and when I just got it out here, my youngest decided that this would be a fun thing to play again. Toca Nature is all about habitats. Organisms that are currently in this habitat are really struggling to survive. You can see some foxes up there. I haven't given them anything they need to survive. So the first hint about what a habitat is to define a habitat, and that's what you're going to have to do in that Word document first. The idea would be we need a habitat to have everything to sustain us to live and survive. If it doesn't have that, then that's not our habitat. So what haven't I given these poor little foxes? And if you see up the top of your screen, and I'll spin it around, you can see some organisms that are living also in that little lake there as well. So I need to give them a few things in order for them to survive. Firstly, what do they need? Well, they need some shelter. So I'm going to give them some, firstly, some shelter. Let's give them, well, if they're a fox, they might like this. So I might add a few areas there for shelter. Now, those foxes were looking a little bit worried there, and you can see some are sleeping, if not they've passed away. But at least giving them some shelter might help them to survive a bit better. Also, I possibly want to add a few other organisms. So I might want to add, here we go. I might want to add a few of these things here, because when I add this, and I might add it to this space here, there's other organisms that might therefore spontaneously, just this iPad app, spontaneously, when you put that shelter there, there's some little bunnies that you might see running around. Now those foxes obviously love that, and therefore you can see that poor little fox. If I spin around here, those foxes now, they weren't looking that crash hot and happy in that their habitat, but now they've got something to eat. So they're going to, if I continue on, and you can zoom in to here and see what they're doing, they are actively seeking out some organisms, and they'll start to be a lot more vigorous. Where are they? There they are. So they're not looking that vigorous at the moment, these poor little foxes. But if we... there he is. He's got something to eat. Fantastic. Good job, him. And now, he needs to go over to here, doesn't he? So we need possibly to get him some food. So I might go out and bring this a little more over to him. Oh. So I might start bringing that space and that place a little bit closer so that fox can be a bit close to where that fish might be. So, two things I've just highlighted there. I'll go back out. That environment, and I've said environment and habitat and ecosystem in the space of one little app. It's in this app, we're going. It explores what organisms need to survive, and that does indicate what a habitat and how you define a habitat. So I'm going to go back up. So today, when you download that Word document, you can use either and fill in that Word document with images or with text. That firstly, on the top left-hand side box, if you download that Word document, a definition for the word habitat. Now be very careful. Habitat is very specific. Compare that to the word environment. Compare that to the word ecosystem or a biome. They're all very different definitions and very different parts of a whole. So be careful to define habitat only. Then on the right-hand side, what are the characteristics on that Word document? What are the characteristics of a habitat? I've said 2 out of a possible 4. So 1 is shelter. To survive, you need shelter. And you need shelter to make a habitat a habitat. 2, you need food. So our little fox in Toca Nature needed a fish. So I went and made sure that there was a lake close by for that fox. And then there's 2 more characteristics of a habitat that you're going to have to try and find. Then what are some examples of a habitat? Now I've shown you here 3, and there's many more, and I'd love you in that left-hand side lower box of that Word document to try and find what is the name of your habitat in which you're living at the moment. And then the last one, what aren't examples, non-examples? What aren't or what isn't a habitat? That's a really interesting one. That will give your teacher, Mrs. Graham, a really good idea about have you been able to unpack the idea of the word habitat. Now, we're only introducing it today, and then in the next few lessons, you really delve into more of the idea of we have a habitat in which we survive, but what are the long-term effects of managing our habitat? What are the long-term issues that could come out of not managing our habitat well? Now, we all know around the world when habitats are not being managed well, what happens to the organisms that live there? What happens to the people that try and survive with the organisms or farm or have those organisms try and live off of them? So there's big issues afoot here when we talk about habitats, how we in the long term can have and live sustainably, how we can look after God's world and our local environment to see it as us as those who want to be here and look long term, look for a generation after generation, not just use everything up just in our lifetime. Okay, I hope that's given you a good intro to habitats, our first topic in science. Now you can go and, if you haven't already, downloaded that Word document and use images and Google Images that you can just copy and paste into that Word document or text to fill in that Word document. After that, can you please put that document into the due workspace. All right. Have a lovely day. I hope this is a great start and you're excited about getting into some science for Term 3.